All right, we are going to continue on with reviewing some things. The next one you're going to review is a little bit from 1.4. With this lesson, you will need a calculator handy. So whether that's your phone, I would recommend using Desmos, or if you just have a regular calculator. Okay, so this lesson is focusing on expressions and giving you values for those variables to then be able to calculate. So I'm going to go through a lot of examples here. I would highly recommend you watch all of my examples before you start the IXLs because especially towards the end, there's a couple that I want to make sure that you see. So we'll start out with some easy ones. So you're going to see something like I have 3a and it tells you that a equals 2. So we want to evaluate. So when you do that, you take whatever value you are given for your variable and plug it in for your variable over here. You want to remember that when you have a number right next to a variable, that means you have multiplication. So this is 3 times, and then your a value, which is 2. And then this is where your calculator will come in handy. As you get going, you're going to have some that are maybe a little bit more complicated. So you can open up your calculator or Desmos or whatever, and you can just type that in 3 times 2 to get your value. The first couple that you'll do here together with me and the first couple you do on IXL are a little bit easier, kind of like this one. So your answer is just 6. Another example, let's say I have 5 plus b, and it tells me that b equals 4. So same thing, we're going to take our 5 plus, and we take our b value, which we know is 4, and then we just combine those. 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay, continuing on. Let's say I have 2x plus 4, and it tells me that x equals 0. So in this case, same thing. We're going to take our x value and plug it in for x. Remember, when you have a number right next to a variable, right next to your letter, you have multiplication. So this is 2 times our x value is 0 plus 4. This is where, starting with these types of problems, might be more beneficial to open up Desmos. And you can just type this entire thing in just like that. So when I'm in Desmos, I can do 2 times 0 plus 4, and it just gives me my answer. Okay, so as you get going, there are definitely going to be some problems that are going to be a little bit longer. It'll just be easier to type it in. So you get your answer is 4. Let's do -3 minus 2y, and we are given that y is -1. So you want to be very careful with all of your negatives. Make sure you copy them down correctly and in the right places. So we've got -3 minus 2, and then remember that there's a multiplication symbol right here, so times -1. Okay, and I would highly recommend you use Desmos to just type that answer in exactly how you have it written. -3 minus 2 times -1. And it'll give you your answer is -1. Okay, so -3 minus 2, there's an imaginary times sign right here, and then your y value is -1. And then just type that into Desmos exactly how you have it written. -3 minus 2 times -1. Let's go to p squared, and we are given that p equals -2. All right, here is an example that I want to make sure you see. Anytime you have an exponent up here, then when you plug your number in for your variable, you want to put it in parentheses. So you're going to keep your 2 from in front of p. There's an imaginary times sign, and then you're going to do parentheses and plug your p value in, and then you're squared on the outside. Okay, so 2, your p value in parentheses, and then squared. And then you can come over to Desmos and type it in exactly how you have it written there. 2 times parentheses your p-value of -2, and then your exponent is squared. And your answer gives you equals 8. I want to show you that if you didn't use your parentheses, you do 2 times -2 squared, it gives you a wrong answer, okay? Because it doesn't realize you want to square the -2, it thinks you want to just square 2. So do not do this, this is wrong. You want to put it in parentheses anytime you have an exponent up here. Let's do -3g divided by 2, and g equals 6. Okay, so we take -3, there's an imaginary times sign, and then our g value, which is 6, and then divide the whole thing by 2. So I can do -3 times 6. Now, here's where you want to be careful. Right now, it's just dividing that 6. So what you need to do in Desmos is do your parentheses, type in that top part in the parentheses, and then do divided by 2. So that way it keeps everything in the top, and then all of it is divided by 2. So -3 times 6, and then the whole thing is divided by 2, which gives you -9. All right, 2x plus 3 minus x, and x is -3. Okay, so there are going to be some where you have the same variable in a couple of places, so you're going to plug them in everywhere. So we have 2, our imaginary time sign, -3, plus 3, minus, and then your x value again, which is -3. So 2, your imaginary time sign, your x value, plus the 3, minus, and then your x value is -3. Okay, so make sure you have 2 negative signs here since you have a minus sign and a -3. And then you can go to Desmos, 2 times -3 plus 3 minus -3, and gives you equals 0. Okay, so make sure you do have these 2 minus signs right there. Our next one, let's go 15n minus 6n plus 4, and n equals 0. Okay, so hopefully you're starting to get the hang of this. You plug in your n value, so we've got 15, our imaginary time sign 0, minus 6, our imaginary time sign 0, plus 4. Delete some of these out of here, and you can type it into Desmos or in your calculator. 15 times 0 minus 6 times 0 plus 4, and you get equals 4. Okay, next one. In a set of parentheses, 5 plus x squared, and we have that x equals -2. Now, remember when I said that you have an exponent, you need to put your variable number in parentheses, but see how it's already in parentheses? It took care of it for us this time. So parentheses 5 plus -2, because that's our x value, and then the squared on the outside. Okay, so if you get everything in the same place it was, parentheses 5 plus the x value -2, close your parentheses, squared on the outside. So then same thing in Desmos, 5 plus -2, close your parentheses, squared on the outside, gives you 9. All right, That should hopefully get you the hang of dealing with just one variable in your problem. So now in your second IXL that you are going to do, you're going to have two variables, or possibly even three. You'll deal with them the same way. So maybe I have x, y, and I tell you that x equals 3 and y equals 4. So same process, except now you just have to plug your variables in for both, or in for all of them if you have more than two. Same thing where we said if there's a number next to a variable, so like when we had that 2a, then that's 2 times a. Same thing here, when you have two variables side by side, there's an imaginary times sign. So you're going to take your x value of 3, the imaginary times sign, the y value of 4. And then same thing, you can type it into Desmos if you need to, or in your calculator. 3 times 4 is 12. Let's say I have hk plus k, and I know that h equals 2 and k equals -3. All right, so plug in your variables into all of their correct places. So you've got h, and then remember there's the imaginary times sign, and then k. So h is 2, your times sign, k is -3, and then plus, and k is -3 again. So h, the imaginary times sign, k, plus k. And then I would highly recommend you type that in your calculator how it is written. Oops, sorry, I typed it in correctly. So 2 times -3 plus -3, which is -9. All right, couple more. 3ab, where a is 5 and b is -2. So you've got 3 and then a number, which means imaginary times sign. Sorry, 3 and then a letter, imaginary times sign, and then a letter and a letter, which means imaginary times sign. So we have 3 times a is 5 times b is -2. So 3 times 5 times -2, which is -30. Let's say we have a squared d, and I know that a is 4 and d is 1. So in this case, a couple of things. First of all, we've got this variable and this other variable, so there is an imaginary times sign right here. Second thing, because we are squaring this a value, we want to make sure when we type it in, we put it in parentheses. So we're going to do parentheses, our a value is 4, and then squared, and then times our d value is 1. So a in parentheses, squared, the imaginary times sign, and then d, which is 1. We'll delete some more of these out of here again. So type that in just like that, 4 squared times 1 gives you 16. All right, last one, and then you should be pretty confident on these, hopefully. If not, though, please let me know and I can go through a couple more with you if you need to. Let's say I have a plus 2b squared minus c, where we have a equals 1, b equals -2, and c equals -3. So same thing as we've been doing, we've just got 3 variables this time. So just plug each of the variables into their correct places. A, which is 1, plus, remember we've got a number next to a letter, so imaginary times sign. So 2 times, b is squared, so we need to plug b into a set of parentheses, which b is -2, and the squared on the outside. So 2, your imaginary times sign, b, which is -2 in a set of parentheses, squared on the outside, and then minus, and then your c value, which is -3. So make sure you have both of these negatives. So then type it into your calculator just like that. 1 plus 2, parentheses negative 2, squared, then minus negative 3, which gives you 12. All right, hopefully that is enough to help you get going on your IXLs. Like I said, though, if you do have any issues or questions, please let me know.